Welcome to this explainer. You know, when you pop open a medicine cabinet, you probably aren't thinking about the massive, totally hidden infrastructure that makes sure that little pill is safe, effective, and pure. Today, we're going to decode a super fascinating document. It's called Schedule M of the Drugs Rules. Basically, this outlines the good manufacturing practices, or GMP, that every single pharmaceutical manufacturer absolutely has to follow. It's literally an invisible fortress standing between you and potentially dangerous manufacturing errors.
So how can you trust that the pill you take today is exactly the same as the one you took a month ago? Well, think of pharmaceutical manufacturing like a zero margin for error Michelin star kitchen, where every tiny detail is scrutinized. I mean, a small mistake in a restaurant kitchen might just mean your soup is a little too salty, right? But a tiny mistake in a pharma plant? That could mean someone doesn't get a life-saving dose, or even worse, they get a contaminated product. To stop this from ever happening, the government laid out these incredibly detailed rules controlling the whole shebang, from the air quality in the building to the exact way a worker washes their hands. To understand how this works, we're going to walk through 5 core pillars of these good manufacturing practices today. We'll be looking at points 11 through 15, personnel, premises, equipment, materials, and finally, complaints and recalls. Let's jump right in with point 11, which is all about the human element. Because let's face it, humans can be pretty unpredictable. And it all starts at the very top. The foundation of drug safety really relies on having the right people in charge. The rules specify that key personnel, specifically the folks heading up the production and quality units, must have very strict scientific qualifications in fields like chemistry or microbiology. But here's the absolute genius part of this regulation. They have to be completely independent of each other. The people making the drug cannot be the same people testing it. It's like you can't grade your own homework, right? This structural separation ensures a totally unbiased system of checks and balances. Production just can't pressure quality control into releasing a subpar batch to meet a deadline. It doesn't work that way. And for the rest of the staff, to keep human contamination far away from your medication, everyone goes through rigorous health checkups before and during employment. Got a sniffle or an open cut? You are strictly barred from handling materials, no exceptions. Workers also have to wear specific, clean body and hair coverings, and direct hand contact with raw materials is completely banned. Plus, there is absolute zero tolerance for smoking, eating, or drinking in production areas. Think about that level of strictness for a second. You literally can't even take a quick sip of water or chew a stick of gum anywhere near these zones. It's all about building this impenetrable barrier between the human body, which, naturally carries germs, and the sterile environment your medicine requires. Okay, moving right along to point 12, let's look at the premises, or the building itself, which is quite literally built for safety. You see, there's a massive difference between standard clean rooms and the ultra-restricted quarantine zones that they use for highly active substances. According to Schedule M, interior surfaces like the walls, floors, and ceilings in general manufacturing areas must be absolutely smooth, totally free from cracks, and they can't shed any particulate matter. That's right, it is a regulatory requirement that the walls themselves cannot shed a single speck of dust. But for highly sensitizing materials like live microorganisms or penicillins, the rules demand entirely dedicated and self-contained facilities. You simply cannot manufacture those highly active products in the same room as a standard headache pill. This completely neutralizes the risk of dangerous cross-contamination. And speaking of separation, quality control laboratories have to be completely physically separated from production areas. Why does this matter so much? Well, by keeping the testing lab isolated from the manufacturing floor, there's absolutely zero risk of cross-contamination skewing the safety results. The environment in a QC lab has to be perfectly stable, with its own completely separate air supply, just to make sure the instruments get a flawless read on the chemical makeup of whatever drug they're testing. Next up is point 13, which covers the equipment, the actual tools of the trade. Pharmaceutical equipment goes through this continuous, mandatory life cycle. We're talking installation designed specifically for closed systems, all the way to strict calibration on fixed schedules for ultimate precision. Then there are validated cleaning procedures that are rigorously enforced between different batches, and continuous validation monitoring the overall output. The machinery is constantly watched. Plus, the equipment has to be designed so that the parts actually touching the product are not reactive, additive, or absorptive. Essentially, this means the metal of a giant mixing vat can't secretly leach chemicals into your cough syrup. It's this ongoing, highly documented cycle of total precision. And just like a top chef throwing out a broken thermometer, the pharma industry has a zero-tolerance policy for faulty tools. If a machine breaks, it can't just sit in the corner of the room where someone might accidentally turn it on. No way. It has to be physically removed from the production and quality control areas. Or, at the very least, it must be explicitly and clearly labeled as defective so nobody touches it.
All right, let's shift gears to point 14, materials. This is all about tightly controlling the ingredients. Notice how different materials are treated with different, intense levels of security. When starting materials arrive at the plant, they don't just roll straight onto the manufacturing floor. Nope, they go into immediate quarantine upon receipt, and they stay there until the quality control department tests and officially releases them. Water, which is arguably the most common ingredient, has to go through validated treatment systems to produce pharmacopeia specification purified water. And check this out. Printed packaging, the regulations consider it highly critical. Labels are locked down in secure conditions to prevent unauthorized access. Imagine the nightmare if a high blood pressure label was accidentally slapped onto a bottle of diabetes medication. This incredibly strict material control guarantees that kind of mix-up never, ever happens. The crucial takeaway here is this first expire, first out rule. That's exactly why the life-saving asthma medication you buy is always fresh and fully effective. Pharmaceutical plants are strictly forbidden from just haphazardly grabbing materials off a shelf. By mandating a first expire, first out system, the rules ensure that ingredients never sit around in the back of a warehouse losing their potency.
Finally, we arrive at point 15, complaints and recalls. This is the ultimate safety net for when things go wrong. Because, let's be honest, even with perfect personnel, flawless premises, calibrated equipment, and totally controlled materials, anomalies can theoretically happen. But the moment a defect is suspected, a rapid procedural response kicks in. Day 1 involves officially receiving and recording the complaint. By day 2, a thorough investigation is already underway. Day 3 triggers the initiation of recall operations, and this culminates on day X with a detailed final reconciliation report. Point 15 demands that all complaints about potentially defective products be reviewed according to strict written procedures. And if a defect is found in one single batch, the rules require the manufacturer to immediately check every other batch to see if they're affected too. It's an incredibly coordinated, rapid response system. This matters immensely because it means this invisible fortress extends all the way down to your local pharmacy. It pulls a defective product before it ever reaches you. A product recall isn't just sending out a polite memo. The rules stipulate there must be a written procedure to ensure the recall reaches stockists, wholesalers, and suppliers, literally all the way down to the retail level, in the absolute shortest time possible. Manufacturers are even expected to use print and electronic media to blast the word out, and they have to produce a final report proving exactly how much of the product was delivered versus how much they safely recovered. So, wrapping up, we really hope this explainer leaves you with a profound appreciation for the massive, hidden effort required to keep your medicine cabinet safe. From ensuring the functional independence of quality control heads to mandating smooth sealings and perfectly calibrated vats, Schedule M is a real testament to the uncompromising standards of drug safety. The next time you take a medication, just ask yourself, how many layers of this invisible fortress did this one single pill have to pass through to safely reach my hands?